thing that comes to me. So David talking about this is like when you get a book of business that's big enough, right? And even sometimes you get some false confidence, right? You have a really good sales week or a really good sales month, and all of a sudden you just have this like crappy lead that comes in, and you're just like, nah, not gonna do it, right? I got bigger and better stuff to do than have to worry about this guy who told me he's looking for the cheapest price.
Yep.
That's mine. That's headspace, right? That's getting into the point to be able to know where your value is at. It's being able to get to the point to where you know what you're looking to accomplish. And when you really think about this, guys, we're giving you the three checkpoints that you and your customer need to cross. That's the first step to this, right? Clarity and confidence is what's there. You got clarity on the questions you need to ask, which ultimately should give you and your customer confidence. So we're going to talk about is all those little niches, right? Those little pieces inside your head of like, okay, my phone's vibrating inside my pocket, right? In the middle of a meeting. I've been there. You forget to put your phone on silent and it rings in the middle of a meeting. I've been there. And it destroys so much, right? It destroys where your talk track was. It destroys what you're thinking. And you just get kind of like, what was I talking about? And there's ways to be able to stop that. Now, that one's super simple, right? Like, hey, just turn your phone on vibrate. But that's what we're going to be going through today. Headspace, where you guys need to be, and some things that I've learned, some things that I've done that ultimately and hopefully should make you guys a little bit more, dangerous inside the field, asking the right questions, going above and beyond as that advocate like I am, and David forcing me to be that change agent, right? And go inside there and really figure out what's going on. So that's where we're at. Yeah. Mr. Bonnie, you ready to go, sir?
Do it.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is No Reps Left Behind. This is episode series, whatever we want to call it, number 6. So if you're just joining in and just watching this, thank you guys for joining in. This is the 6th of 9 that we have at this point right now. And what we do is we go through an entire sales process. And this gives you guys the foundation or the bones that you guys need to be able to get better leads, better opportunities, more sales, or I think even the little plug at David, right? More sales, bigger impact, right? Yeah. To where we can start doing more with the sales that we have, right? The opportunities that we have. Start doing more, using our time better. If you guys want to increase the amount of sales you have, you shouldn't have to work more. You should be able to work smarter. And that's what we're trying to achieve here. So welcome, guys. Welcome to No Reps. My name is Chad Westbrook. I'm the founder of Sales Alignment. Sales Alignment is focused on raising the floor for the commercial roofing world. What does that mean, you ask? It means that I'm here to be able to help you guys understand the bumps, the tricks, the tips, whatever else it is that's allowed me to be able to grow my career into coaching some of the largest contractors in the United States on their service, their sales, on production, all of those different worlds. There's a reason and a way and a methodology that I've been able to do this again and again, not just at one company, but multiple companies. So some of the stuff that I've done obviously speaks for itself, but the things I'll stand on is I have been a part of some of the largest preventative maintenance agreements and contracts, initiatives, whatever word we want to use. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot to be able to sell that forward idea of if you guys do this, then you'll get that. And that really focuses around everything that we're talking about in the 4D sales process and the 3 milestones. It's not about the roof, guys. It's about your customer. It's about what your customer sees, their envision, right? Their problem or goal. And we're going to get deeper into that. So I know it's not the perfect normal insight you guys have on me, but yeah, we'll go from there. Mr. Bonnie.
Guys, good to be here with you. My name is David Bonney, founder of 45. My main focus has been in the startup world. Company that I was with was valued at over $1 billion by the time I left. They were at about 5 million when I started. And going through that growth chain, as I'm sure many of you guys have heard here, for the repeat attendees, but for anybody that's new, going through that grind and having to more than double your business every single year is extremely stressful. So my focus has been on, as small businesses started to come to me and say, hey, can you teach us some of the things that you've done? As I built a reputation of being able to build high performing revenue teams. across the organization and across other companies that I had been at, I started to see this opportunity to say, how do we take all these principles and strategies that work in the world where they're literally flushing tens of millions of dollars of capital into it to get it to grow? How do we take those secrets basically and give them to the normal business? And commercial roofing was one of the first. The commercial roofing industry was one of the first clients that I had. And it's just grown from there. It's where I met Chad 6 years ago. And we've been installing these strategies and trying to simplify what it takes to achieve new levels of success in the industry. And it's been really great. One, because for whatever reason, there's a low bar in commercial roofing. But two, when we attract in the growers, when we attract in the people that want to learn and want to get to the next level, your guys' ability to take this stuff and apply your strengths to it and drive it up to the next level is fantastic. Because then me and Chad are constantly learning too. Yeah, that's what this is all about. All of us learning, all of us continuing to grow. Like Chad said, my second book was different from the first book. The third book is different than the second book, and it's just going to keep going like that. And it's not that I've changed my mind on anything, but we should be evolving and learning more and getting better and simplifying things. And that's what we're doing for you here today, guys. And as we look at the sales methodology and how we execute all this stuff that we do out here, we also got to keep in mind what's going on in here. And this can sometimes be our biggest issue. So I'm excited about the content that we're going to be getting into today as we try to give you a holistic and fully rounded approach to being successful for the long term in sales.
Being the best possible you. That's where we're going with this. So before we talk about you guys, we're going to talk about no reps as a whole. One of the things is that you guys aren't paying to be here, right? You're showing up because you want to invest into yourself. You want to invest into the sales process and get better. That's great. Part of what I want to do is help raise the floor in the commercial roofing world. So you're not going to see me spending tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook marketing and all that kind of different stuff. I'm not that flashy kind of guy. I believe inside ultimately giving back to the individuals that are investing into their business. If you guys have had the opportunity to work underneath me, I've probably told you I will work as hard on your business as you guys work on it. And that's no different here. I'm going to work as hard on giving you guys good content and good ways to deliver, implement, and create a habit as you guys are going to take it and use it, right? So what I want from you guys is I want you to be able to help spread the word. And it's not that hard. If you guys are here and you're like, man, this is actually halfway decent stuff, and we're 11 minutes in now and you haven't logged off, share it for me. Jump on Facebook, jump on LinkedIn, wherever it is, share the word, be able to get it in front of new people. The one thing that I think David and I started on here is like, okay, who's going to join this? It's going to be like, well, people who want to get better. But then we talked about like sales reps, and whether you guys know this or not, sales reps have egos. So there's not many sales reps out there. It's like, man, you know what? I just suck. I need to get better. No one says that. They always tell you, it's like, how's everything going? It's like, it's going good, David. Like, it's awesome. When really you got $0 on the sales board. And the only person that knows that is either A, the team that you work with, or your sales manager. That's what I'm telling you guys. Share this with everybody, because even if you think people don't need it, right? The ability for me to be able to get in there, impact them with what we're doing with the 3 milestones, checkpoints, right? And grow. That's my goal. So much as I'm helping you guys, help me help more people. Share this again, social media, wherever it is. Each one of these, I think, will go to our LinkedIn profile. So you'll find the stuff that we have. And share. That's what we're asking. Tag us in it. Love to be able to create conversations, get you guys some more people running to your profile to win-win. So that's my request from you guys. We do a Facebook group. So this is the second thing I'll throw out. So again, with your phone, you can scan the QR code. Commercial service tricks, tips, and tactics, I believe is the name of it. And it's ultimately a closed group where different individuals, both in service and sales, that are coming in to be able to grow their business. And when I say business, it can be their unique book of business or it can be their actual company. But the idea of it, it's only as good as what you put in, right? So ask questions, engage in all of that. If you guys want to join somewhere that's a little bit more of a tight niche group, Facebook group is there. All you got to do is scan it with your phone, and you guys can jump in. If this is your first time jumping in, we've talked about the 4D process, right? So the 4D: discovery, diagnosis, demonstration, and decision. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but when you meet with somebody, you're there to learn about their perception of reality, right? What do you guys see? Why are you going to spend money on something? You have to understand their world, and that's discovery. Diagnosis is really putting their reality into your reality, which means there's a disconnect between your customer's stained ceiling tiles and then the punctures that are up on the roof. Because as a sales rep, the only thing I see is sales reps trying to sell punctures to a customer, which then they have to work really, really hard to be able to understand, okay, the punctures are letting water into the roof system, which is then resulting inside the stained ceiling tile. So you know what? I'm going to award the punctures. And guess what happens, guys? The leak comes back. Because just because you fix a deficiency doesn't mean you fix the ceiling tile, right? So you got to mend those two worlds. And we talk about that in the diagnosis side. Demonstration is the next one. Unless you want to be a commodity, you guys have to prove how you're different than every other contractor. I don't care where you are in the US, in the world, whatever it might be, there are other peoples that can perform the same exact services as you guys. So what is your special sauce? What makes you guys different? Because that's ultimately these three D's right here are going to drive you to the fourth one, which is a decision. And not just your decision, right? But also your client's decision, because you have a decision to be able to make. Am I going to take this opportunity to the next step? You do have the ability to say, no, we're not going to bid this. No, this doesn't fit. No, I've never worked on a hospital before and we're not going to start today. You guys have the ability to say that, which saves you time, energy, and money. I've already talked about all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you want your customer to make a decision. Too many opportunities die on the vine because your customers never make a decision, which means the problem was never big enough to act in the first place, which leads us directly into the perfect buyer's journey. There's 3 checkpoints on this, guys. If we went through this over the last several weeks, checkpoint number 1, do they actually need to do something? Yeah, I know they have roof leaks. We've all walked into the Steak and Shake and seen the stained ceiling tiles, but guess what? They've been like that for 6 months. So they actually need to do something. Is the problem big enough that they're actually going to take action and award a contract with you, another roofer, or whoever it is, to be able to fix the problem? And that's why we go into discovery, right? Is the problem big enough for them to actually do something? That's checkpoint 1. Checkpoint 2, do they actually need newer outside services? Which means if they have someone they've worked with for 10 years, why are they going to choose you? Or if they've done all the repairs themselves, why are they going to pay somebody else to do it? And a lot of times as sales reps, we're afraid to ask those questions because we're afraid to get the answer that we know we might actually get. But that's what we're encouraging you guys to do, is to ask those questions, ask those variables that can ultimately kill the deal, right? Before you even have to put all that time into it. It's like, we're probably just going to do it ourselves. Okay, that's okay. Time, energy, and money are the 3 things that you get when you make smart decisions. You get more time, right? You get more energy, and you get more money to invest inside better spots. Last part, right? We talked about that third D, which is demonstration. Do you guys have the best solution? Are you going to be commoditized by all of your different roofers that are around you to be able to say, well, you, and you are doing the same thing, and this guy's the cheapest, so we're going to choose him? You guys live in that world? Did you lose a job this week or this month because someone was cheaper than you? That's where we talk about that special sauce. What makes you guys unique? Because most of the time your clients, they're not buying roof repairs, right? They're buying a fix to their reality, the stained ceiling tile, the water on the floor, the damaged machines, the damaged product, right? The safety, whatever it might be. So we tie all that stuff together. Now, David, I know I spoke a lot, sir, but I'm going to turn this over to you. What do you want to add to it throughout that first side and the high level before we start diving into the mind space side?
So we have discover and disqualify on here for a reason, guys, because we get down and, yeah, of course we want them to make a decision, right? We hear that all the time. Yeah, of course, Chad, of course, David, we want them to make a decision, but what do we do if they're not getting back to you? What do you do if they keep putting it off, right? It's all this reactive stuff. We can't tell you guys enough. As soon as you give the proposal over, I almost want you to hear this in your sleep. Like when you're waking up and you hear that, like your mind is like speaking to you. It's like, we just want you to hear these words. As soon as you give the proposal over, you've lost all your power. As soon as you give the proposal over, you've lost all your power. Hear it. So stop trying to get the power back after you've already given it away, guys. You can't do that. It's just so fundamentally flawed in terms of an approach and a process. So the reason why we go through this is because you have to discover if they need to take action. Is this an urgent priority? You have to discover these 3 checkpoints. And if they don't pass one of the checkpoints, then push back. Then why are you worrying about this? Sounds like you got other stuff to deal with then. Why deal with this? But what if I lose that quote? You're gonna lose it anyway, guys. But if you weren't going to lose it, what they're going to do when you push back is they're going to say, well, actually, here's the reality of what's going on. This is what I didn't tell you. Blah, 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 blah. You go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, but until you're willing to walk away, you're not going to be able to get across each one of these checkpoints. But do that. Discover, disqualify, get the crap out of your pipeline, and leverage a proven prospecting strategy that will ensure you're having enough conversations with people, to ensure that you're running enough meetings, right? Do the stuff that we're telling you to, and you won't have to grip onto anything. You'll be happy when you can say, no, okay, good. Let's talk about this in 60 days and see if it's gotten worse, because I don't want you wasting my time. I have too many other people in my pipeline, right? So discover and disqualify is a proactive approach to sales. Stop trying to overcome objections reactively. The only way that you overcome an objection is by taking information that they've already given you and saying, okay, but I don't understand. You said this last time we talked, but now you're saying this. Help reconcile that for me. If you can't do that, guys, your little mind tricks and everything else that we try to do aren't going to work. I hate to say it, guys, but it's lazy. You got to bear down in the process, get these 3 checkpoints crossed, discover and disqualify when needed, and you will be able to drive them to a decision. No's are fine. Yeses are fine. No maybes. You will do the work necessary to get them to solve their biggest problems, causing them the most pain and keeping them from the most important outcomes. And they will pick you when the roof is the solution to make that equation work.
Love it. So the biggest thing that I took away from what you said, and saying it inside different words, do not deliver the proposal until you can answer these 3 questions, right? Do they actually need to act? Okay. And not just you, can the customer answer these questions? Because it's great that you can make assumptions based off of what you had, but if you've learned anything through this, guys, did the customer say, what's the priority of this? This is an 8, 9, or 10. I got to do something about it. Did the customer say that? If not, it may be your reality, but it might not be theirs. Do they actually need new and outside help? Did we talk about that? Do they have other contractors? You have to be able to do this because, much like David said, whether it whispers inside your ear, I think it should haunt you, in my opinion. Once you deliver the proposal, all of the power is outside of your guys' hands, right? All of the value that you guys give is now all summed up with this one individual. And if you have not separated yourself from all the other contractors, you are now a piece of paper, a proposal in a stack, an email lost within a folder, possibly. It's not the world that you want to be. And then after you get to the point where you're just like, I don't want to call them, right? And that's where your headspace starts coming in. So here's what I'm going to tell you guys that I've learned throughout my 20 years of being able to do this is that you should not be thinking when you go into a meeting, okay? When you go into discovery, when you go into a drop, whatever it is, you should not be thinking about your next meeting, okay? You should not be thinking about your emails. You should not be thinking about your phone calls. You should not be thinking about what you're going to do when you're done. You shouldn't even be thinking about how long the meeting should last. And I have with exceptions in there for a reason. Because number one, there's been way too many times where telemarketing or lead development, wherever, sets a meeting. It's like, yo, just 5 minutes. Just let them shake your hand for 5 minutes. I've never been in a 5-minute meeting that's been positive. Make sure that you're being real with the situation, right? That's the first thing I'm going to be able to tell you guys is make sure that the time that you guys have blocked out is enough time for you to be able to truly present what you need to present. Because one of 2 things is going to happen. Number one is that you guys are going to get there and you're going to need more time, typically, right? And you're just going to take that time. And when you take that time, you lose your client's interest. You lose the interest, right? He's looking at his watch. He's figuring out where he is. He's late for his next meeting. He's having to text somebody inside the middle, say running late. You don't have the full attention that you need. The second thing is it's disrespectful, right? It's disrespectful to be able to come in there. Now, you can ask a question to be able to say, hey, this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated. Are you cool going longer? But you have to be able to understand and stick to a schedule, right? We talked about protecting your time. That's huge, 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 huge within sales. So let me say this again. It's not impossible, but you should not be thinking about your next meeting. You should not be thinking about the emails that you need to answer, the emails that you need to send, the phone calls that you need to make, or the phone calls that are going to be coming in during the meeting. What you're doing when you get done, right? So I got your drops around here. You shouldn't be thinking about that. Get your head in the right spot. You're there for one reason. Put the blinders on, guys, and focus on your customer's problem or goal. We've given you the questions to be able to ask. Now I want you to hyper focus on that. You need to be able to give the best possible solution to this customer based upon whatever their perception of the problems are. Don't let this stuff get inside the way. This is the most common things that I see is that you're worried about your next meeting because your schedule's too tight. You're worried about the emails because walking in, you're checking emails, or you're sitting inside the lobby checking emails, right? Trying to bang off some emails before you get inside there, or you got your phone ringing inside your pocket. We can eliminate all of that stuff, but I'm telling you, put your blinders on. You have to be inside the right headspace. So when your customer walks out, prospect, whoever it is, you're there to be able to help them. So I'm going to talk this through and we're going to start from the beginning. When you guys pull into the parking lot, so I'm talking about you guys still in your car. When you pull into the parking lot, the first thing that you can do is you can read the building, right? What do you see? Do you see proactive building maintenance? Because this is going to kind of let you know how they take care of their property, how they take care of the building, right? Walking into a Taco Bell and a Chick-fil-A are two completely different worlds, right? Walking into a Steak and Shake and wherever it is. I'm not trying to use restaurants, but whatever it is, you know the difference between those two. It's massively different, right? So is the grass cut, right? What's the landscaping look like? Do they have landscaping? Are the windows clean? Right? Do they have potholes inside the parking lot? Is the parking lot striped? Those things will let you know how proactive the customer is on taking care of situations. And this is your first insight to be able to understand who this customer is, how they manage their buildings, and what the expectations are going to be from you as a contractor. It can also give you some ideas of what maybe they're doing if there's construction going on in the parking lot or different things like that. So there's a lot that we can learn from reading the building simply from just pulling in the parking lot, right? Look at the building. Is the grass cut? Are the windows clean? Are there potholes inside the parking lot? Is the parking lot striped? Is it nicely striped? Or you kind of see, okay, they take care of this stuff. They care about the assets they have, or they just let the thing go. Whatever, doesn't matter. It's a manufacturing plant, potholes everywhere. Going to allow you to be able to understand what's happening when you pull in the parking lot. That's the first thing that you guys can do. When you walk into the building, I want you guys to be able to read the room. How inviting is this? Right? Because you walk inside the front door, what's it look like? Is it a little, 8 by 10 cubicle where you got to sit? Maybe they don't have any room for you to be able to sit. This is going to tell you more about the business. Now, the type of business, right? Walk into a manufacturing plant, you might not have some big welcome area. But if I walk into a discount tire, well, you have people that sit there, right? So if you had a leak inside this area, it's much more impactful, right? Knowing that they constantly have customers that are sitting there waiting on their cars than maybe the one that's wide open that never gets used, right? So how inviting is the walls, the ceilings, the offices, right? Everything around there can give you, again, a good idea of how they manage it and how their business operates. How many people do they have in there? We talk about those three things that always get disrupted, right? The people, the product, or the safety. Understand what's going on there. Look at the walls. Look at some of the plaques that they got on the walls, right? If they have any there, things that they talk about, right? I think of like a Farm and Fleet that's down in town, right? And they have this big thing on the wall that says how many days without a lost time incident. And I look at that, and that instantly tells me they care about safety. Because they literally have a clock on the wall that's telling how many days they've had without a lost time incident. And what happens when the roof leaks? Creates a safety concern. Now I can tie what I do, right? What my expertise is specifically into something they care about. if they care about lost time incident, if they have different manufacturing awards or different things like that, you can kind of understand what they care about. What's their story? What's the awards that they have? That entrance can tell you a story much more than just walking in, sitting down, getting on your phone and waiting for that person to come up. Walk around, look at what's going on, look at the walls, right? It'll tell you a lot about the building. David, I know I went through these first two. Anything you want to add, sir?
I think at least the way that I think about it, I think it was Zig Ziglar talked a lot about this stuff. At the end of the day, guys, you can't want it more than your prospect. Uh, so if you're seeing that they don't hold these things in priority as a priority, you can't want them to hold it or make it a priority more than they do. You have to go find the people that want it. And you want to help them, yes. But if they don't want to be helped, they don't want to be helped. But we'll do deal reviews too often, and we go through and we just find out this isn't a deal, and you're just holding on to it because it's $25,000 that you need to get to quota. Well, the problem with that is that you don't have enough opportunities. So the reason Chad's going through this stuff because this is conveying the stuff. This is conveying the truth about who they are and how much they want it and how much they'll prioritize it. Just because you want them to prioritize it doesn't mean they're going to take these signs very seriously in terms of the data points that you're bringing into the 3 checkpoints.
So we've done when you walk into the parking lot. We've done when you walk into the building, right? So your next step is when you walk into their office, right? And let's hope that the meeting you're going to have is not out front at the front, receptionist office. You want to be able to get to a point to where you can really talk about what's going on. A good discovery meeting is going in and be able to ask questions that's going to allow you to be able to open up a conversation. A meeting is not leaving your flyer at the front desk, right? A meeting is not, I guess I give you a call if I have something come up. That's not what we're trying to achieve. What we're trying to achieve is people who want to invest into their assets, right? Enough to where they can engage you. Talk about the, discovery and disqualify. This is a great example of that. Right? Is it truly an opportunity if they're not going to give you the time to talk or sit down and talk about their problems or goals? Yeah, no, it's fine. Just go up on the roof. Just go on the roof. Give me an inspection. Are you truly being valued at that point? Or is this the part where you need to be able to step in and say, hey, I can definitely take a look at the roof, but I want to understand your business more. So when we deliver the report, and I ask this question all the time when I look at inspections, guys, how is the customer going to use this information? And it's astonishing to me how many times the sales rep that I'm working on don't know. They know they got a roof inspection, but they have no idea how that report is going to be used by that customer. And that's the number one thing that you guys are trying to do when you talk about an inspection report is you're trying to give them data to better manage their assets. So how are they going to use it? Because I can tell you if someone's using it to try to force their landlord into replacing the roof, it's going to be completely different than they need to get the next 10 years out of this building because they're going to build a new one next door. Two completely different worlds. Could be the same inspection though, but how they use the data is completely different. So you have to be able to have time to be able to truly talk to the customer and are they willing to invest, right? Or are they just going to commoditize you and say, you know what, go look at the roof. When you walk into their office, nothing else matters but your client's problem or goal, period. Nothing else matters. And I'll talk about a few different practices that I have, right? But first off, what's on the walls? Because when you looked at the building, that's the face of it, right? That's the face of what we're looking at. When you walked into the front office, that's the culture that they're trying to build, right? That company's trying to build or trying to expose you to when you're walking in. The final part is when you walk into their office, that's their personal space, guys. That's their world. That's probably where they spend more time in that office than they do with their family. So what have they done to that space? What's on their desk, right? So when I look at the walls, do they have pictures of their kids? Do they have a baseball bat up there? Is there nothing on the walls? Is it clean? Is it dirty? All of that, again, will tell you about that individual. What's on their desk? Let me give you a hint, guys. Is it packed stacks and stacks of paper? That'll help you understand how they manage data. Is the desk clean? Is there no paper on the desk? Which will tell you they could be a little bit more technology advanced. They could be using technology to be able to have everything in here because they don't have paper everywhere. There's so much that you can learn from walking into someone's office that it's insane how you can use that, right, to be able to connect with them and understand how they view their office, their space. They have their kids there. All of a sudden, their kid has a soccer, thing on the side, and now there's more relatable things than you ever thought was going to happen, and it's literally just from looking around. A couple things I'll tell you, just kind of quick tips on my side. So number one, you can mute your phone. Keep your phone inside your pocket. It's fine. Mute your phone. Just make it. I mean, even on vibrate, it can still be disruptive if it's vibrating inside your pocket. Maybe not for your customer, but it can be disruptive to you, right? If it's ringing inside your pocket, it's vibrating. If someone calls twice, again, I've been in that world. It's not the best place to be. So turn the phone on silent, not vibrate. The other thing I'll tell you is if you do take it out of your pocket, and this is something that I had to do with a lot of habit, is that I normally take my phone out of my pocket. I don't know why, I just do it. But if you set it down and you set it down face up, anytime that you get a phone call, text message, email, anything else like that, typically if you have notifications turned on, the screen's going to light up. Disruptive to you, disruptive to your customer. Of course, you're going to look at it. Who is it? And now all of a sudden, remember the one thing that matters, just your customer's problem or goal. You're out of that world. You're not there. So turn the phone upside down. So if you take it out of your pocket, vibrate, or not on vibrate, right? On silent, and then turn it upside down. So
Specifically, do
that,
not disturb, guys. Like use
yeah,
like if iPhone, use do not disturb setting on there.
great point. Great point. And I don't use that enough. And I think we talked about this last time we went inside of, yeah, there's a do not disturb setting that you can really, really easily turn on. Phone upside down. So face down, and this is me just giving you best practices that I've learned throughout this. Go into the room, take it out of your pocket, so be it. Face down on the desk. No vibrate, no nothing like that. Turn it on, do not disturb, because the only thing that matters is you and that client in those rooms, right? Or in that room. You have the questions. I'm not going to go over the questions because we've done that for the last several weeks. We dove into that. You know where it is. But the only thing that matters is your client's problem or goal, right? It's problem, goal, or education that you're doing. Spend the time because trust me, those emails will be there when you get out of that meeting. Those phone calls will be there when you get out of that meeting. But what will not be there is the time that you will ever get with that prospect again. There is no redo. Okay. There is no, hey, dude, I totally screwed up the last meeting. Can I have another 30 minutes just to go over this a little bit better? Maybe I can try again. Maybe you'll see the value this time. That doesn't exist, guys. When you get the time with the client, spend the time with them. Ask the questions that need to be asked. Now, we can still have halftime, which we'll talk about, right? But ask the questions. Be in that place. Nothing else matters but your client's problem or goal. That's it. Um, Anything you want to add to that, David, before we go on to the different perspective side?
Just the thing that came to my mind, guys, if you're in the middle of a movie, right? And what we're doing when we're asking these questions that we teach you guys to ask is we're building a narrative, right? We're getting them into their story. And as we're getting them into their story and their narrative, it's just like if you're in a really compelling movie and the person right next to you and their phone is going off. It's distracting, just like Chad said, it takes you out of the emotional state that you're getting swept up into internally, which is going to be the key to you taking action or not. So these might sound like small things, but they're huge disruptions to the point where movie theaters dedicate the first 5 minutes of you sitting there to turn off your friggin' phone, right? With friggin' dancing popcorn and everything else around. It's that important. They don't want you to get pulled out of the emotional experience that you're about to go through because that's what's going to drive the enjoyment. It's the same thing that happens in a sales conversation. So this narrative that you're building that's full of emotion, all these components are directly related to it, and it will either positively or negatively impact your ability to be able to get there.
Percent. Love it. All right, so a different perspective. So what I'm talking about here is that two people can be in the exact same event and have a completely different view on what happened. They can have the exact same visual of what happened and have two completely different opinions, right? That's the beauty of America. That's the beauty of being a human. All that kind of different stuff that plays inside there. But David might have an experience earlier inside his life where it's like, oh man, I can completely understand why that person did what they did. And then I'm on this side. It's like, how can someone do that? And we both saw the same thing. We're both still at the same event. We just saw it, we processed it different, and we're two different people. I'm going to tell you that that is beautiful, guys. And if you don't have anything in your continued education, if you don't have anything to be able to expose you guys to different thought processes, right? You guys are here. That's awesome. You're learning about a different thought process, a different process, a way to be able to do stuff, right? Continue it, guys. Do not stop. There are so many different things in life that are seen and communicated differently. Sometimes it's the same thing. It's just put in different words or a different story that allows you as an individual to be able to relate to the story, the process, or again, whatever the goal is. I'm going to tell you guys to be able to go into that world. There's a lot of time that we spend in cars, in vehicles, traveling, wherever it might be, right? Especially our outside sales, where you guys have the time to be able to expose yourself to it. One of the areas I'll say that on a personal side for me that I changed and made a massive difference inside my continued education side was driving. And I would listen to music. And that's what I would do. I would just go through Sirius or XM or the radio or wherever it is. And I would just listen to music and try to find a channel and whatever else it is. And that's one habit that I changed on my side, that anytime I'm in the car, unless I'm with my wife and family, I'm on Audible. I learn, right, through hearing. If you guys learn through reading, great. Whatever it is, find out what that learning path is for you guys on what you best acknowledge and process information. But find a way, find somewhere. I think, David, you and I talked about mowing at one time, right? When I'm mowing, I got my headphones on or my earplugs in, and I'm listening to an audiobook. From my side, that's an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of stuff that I'm just blanking out on. There's different ways. Everybody has their own things that they're doing, but find a way to find different perspectives. So there's three different things that I'm going to pull up here. And there are three books that had an impact when I first started getting into the continued education side. Now, I will tell you that there's probably about 20 plus books that I love. And as soon as I run out of books, I start asking David, "Is like, yo, bro, what's my next book?" But these are the three that had a massive impact on me. Number one was the 4 Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss is the one who did that. I love this one because it gets you kind of into how do you work smarter. So it talks about like virtual assistants. Long story short, this guy traveled the world. He was a professional boxer over in China and ran businesses wherever he was inside the world. And he just talks about how he did it, how he utilized different resources and different ways of being able to do banking. And again, it's just a very insightful book. It's not about working 4 hours a week, but it's about having that process to where you only had to work 4 hours a week to run the business. Second one is Never Split the Difference. This is about negotiating. It's an FBI internet, or it's an international FBI hostage negotiator. And what he goes through is talking about how negotiating for the FBI was life and death. If he messed up, someone died. And then he takes it and he transitions it into the business side. It's an awesome book inside my opinion. It's not too gory, but it allows you to be able to see there's not much different in negotiating, right? Where both sides win because your customer's got a problem, he needs it fixed, but you guys also need a certain dollar amount to be able to do it, be profitable, and invest back into the business. It allows you to be able to navigate some of those bridges where someone's like, "Oh man, you're higher, you're a higher price than this." It takes you through some different tactics that allows you to be able to understand, and again, gives habits and things that I still use to this day. The last one is Getting Things Done, and there is some new revisions to this. So this is by David Allen. This is a really, really impactful book, helped me a lot on really kind of understanding priorities, right? Because we all have stuff that we have to do every single day. What's the biggest priority that we have to do? And I think the real question that came from this is if you never do this task or if you don't do it today, what's the impact on tomorrow, right? Or what's the impact on next week, next month? So not ruin the books for you, but there's a lot of stuff in there that can really help you guys personally and professionally get more done, right? David and I continue to be able to talk about, how do we get more done in the same amount of time? This is helping you guys a little bit outside of, hey, use these questions, right? But how do you wrap your hands around all of that? There's a lot of different books out there. Find what works for you guys. If you got to read it, cool. Buy the book, read it. If you want to go through Audible, cool. Use Audible. It makes no difference, but make sure that you guys have that source, right? That channel to be able to make sure that you guys are learning, A, how you guys learn, and B, in something that you're interested in. That'll be a massive part, not just to sales, but how you evolve as a leader or wherever your career might take you. David, anything you want to add to that, sir?
One of the things we're gonna have a Thursday spot training opened up for the people in our program, guys. And one of the things that we're going to go through in that is personal goal setting and understanding what you want. One of the key things to learning more is needing to learn more. Learning for learning's sake doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you're trying to achieve more and you're trying to get to a new spot and you identify the gaps in your own set of knowledge and you want that thing bad enough, then you'll find the time. 100% you'll find the time to learn. But it's not about wanting to be a learner. If you're a learner and a reader, we're going to give you these things. You probably already read them or you're going to read them. But for those of us that are not learners, the only way to do this is to be able to have a goal that's big enough and exciting enough to want to go after to seek out this new knowledge. So that'll be a big part of it, guys. You guys need to understand what you want out of life. You got to understand what this role of sales intends to give you and your family or those you care most about. And having that vision is a super exciting and a compelling reason to actually dive into this stuff. So we'll get into that work. For those of you that need it, we'll take you through a process to help you really get clear on that.
What are you reading right now, David? Do you have any open books right now?
The seven-figure business in a weekend, one that I told you about.
Okay. All right. I'm in mental toughness for young athletes, which is really interesting. So diving into the mind and how the mind works and, cool. All right. All right. So what I'm going to give you guys is ultimately in the next 15 minutes, a 3-step process. So you guys can be a little bit more in control, right? So we talked about what needs to happen when you walk into the business, that kind of different stuff. How are we going to wrap your hands around this? You guys can understand what are the 3 biggest things that you need to focus on to be able to ultimately, I'll say, dictate or craft your success. So the number one thing I'll tell you, step 1 is numbers don't lie. Okay. Know your numbers, know what they are, know what they need to be. So if you guys are in any of our programs, you guys know what those numbers are, right? You know what your specific strategic plan is and what you need to do every single week to be able to hit those goals. That's a huge, huge part. There's 3 numbers that matter. Okay. Now, again, this doesn't go against, this is just a simplified version of what we do in the coaching programs. But number 1 is your lead conversion ratio. And ultimately, what that means is leads developed. So, how many new opportunities have you, and opportunity is not the right word, how many new leads have come in versus meetings complete, right? And that means that they showed up. That's the biggest thing, is that they showed up to the meeting, they were there, and you had the opportunity to ask question number 1. When people typically sit down with me, they have a problem or a goal. Which one is it for you guys? Right? That's the start of that meeting. Did you sit down in an office, right? Out of in an area, separated area to where you can ask that question. So that lead conversion ratio. There's so much static and noise in social media that like they can get 100 leads and you can do all of this stuff. To me, honestly, guys, it means nothing because 100 leads is just a giant waste of time. What matters is that lead is actually turned into a meeting. It's actually turned into something fruitful. Just because someone says they have a roof leak, right? Checkbox number 1, the problem big enough to act, doesn't mean they're actually going to do something about it. So leads to meetings is the first number that you have to be aware of. The second number that you need to know is your meeting conversion ratio, which means they showed up for the meeting, right? And you guys took the path forward to deliver a quote. So what does that mean? It means they checked the boxes. They had a problem big enough to act. They needed someone with outside, they needed someone from the outside, or they're not going to do it again themselves. And you found a way to make sure it fits in your business model that you are the best solution, right? So that's what they mean. It means they checked all 3 of those boxes. Meetings complete to proposals delivered. It's the second number. The third number that you guys need to focus on is the quote conversion ratio. And this is the most common one that everyone tracks. But in my opinion, it's the least impactful one. Because it's great that you can say, oh, I delivered 13 proposals and I sold 5, whatever it is. That's the close. That's the number. When I say, hey, what's your close ratio? That's what they're going to tell you. The biggest part of this is all your activity at the top makes a massive difference in everything down bottom. So what does quote conversion ratio mean? It means they sign on the dotted line, right? You delivered a proposal to them and they say, yep, this is awarded. They signed it and they got it over to you. Those are the three primary numbers that you guys need to be paying attention to, right? So how does this break down? Well, if you had 100 meetings, right? I'm sorry, you had 100 leads and you ran 80 meetings, it means that ultimately 80% of your leads converted. If you had 80 meetings and you delivered 30 quotes, it means that 37.5%, right? You divide those two, of your meetings convert. And if you quoted 30 jobs and sold 10, it means 33% of your proposals convert. So when we talk about this at the highest level, understanding what happens, right, allows you guys to be able to make smarter choices. And this is the start, right? This is, I'll say, just the tip of the iceberg of what we do within our coaching side. Is it allows us to be able to dive in very specifically and say, okay, well, what if we only had 90 meetings and 80 of those converted, right? Or what if we didn't have to quote 30 jobs to sell 10? What if we only had to quote 20 jobs to sell 10? That's where we start making those small tweaks that allow us to be able to be smarter with what we're doing, right? So at the end of the day, what do I look at? What am I looking at here? I had 100 leads come into the business and you sold 10, which means you have a 10% lead to sale conversion. So a lot of the numbers that we talk about, right? 33% close ratio, that doesn't mean anything unless you understand the other numbers that are connected to this. Look at the total amount of leads that are coming into the business or the total amount sold. That'll tell you what your real churn is, right? And how many of those opportunities that you're wasting your time, your energy, your money on are actually turning into sales. Dave, you want to take us through a little bit on the sales magic trick, sir?
Yeah. So again, guys, with the same conversion here, and these numbers are different. There's a lot of interpretation on this stuff, so don't take these at face value. But we want to talk to you guys about the compound effect of how the small improvements with each one of these numbers, with the stuff that we're giving you guys, and if you would just focus on one area each month over the course of a year, you're going to get outstanding results. So if you had 100 leads and you had a 70% conversion rate, leads to meetings, 30% to quotes, 25% to sales, you'd produce just under 500,000. Now, if you can use the things that we're giving you, go back. Yep. If you can use the things that we're giving you to get up to 80% on your leads to meetings conversion, if you can go from meetings to quotes from 30 to 40%, again, guys, just 10 points. Okay. And then from quotes to sales from 25 to 35%. Now suddenly you've got 11 sales versus 5. So you've more than doubled your sales. But then when we look at your averages, if we can get your average up to 8,000 versus 7,000, now suddenly over the course of a year, we're producing over $1 million. So we've more than doubled. It's basically 1.5 or 2.5x of what we were doing before, from 441 to almost 1.1 million. But these are just small little increases across each stage. That's all we want you to focus on. This isn't about how do I double my conversion rate? How do I double the number of quotes that convert? That's not the way to look at it, guys. The way to look at it is how do we get a 5 to 10 point increase across each stage of the funnel. And as you work on that over the course of 12 months, implementing the stuff that we're giving you, we promise you're going to get there. We promise you.
Huge part inside this, guys. It's all of these little tweaks, right? So each week you guys show up for this and we give you those little tweaks that need to be made. If I was selling 441,000 and I said, hey, I want you to sell 1 million, David, you got to sell $1 million. The answer to this is not, I need 200 leads, right? The answer is getting more from what you have. That means you guys don't have to work more hours, right? We can be more efficient with what we have. And if you guys want to work more hours, that's great. But the compound effect should not be ultimately the same results that you have. So I know we got some other stuff inside here that we'll drive through, but the one thing that I'll tell you guys is that we have to discover and disqualify, because the use of your time is the most valuable thing that you have. Most valuable thing that you have is your time. So if you're not disqualifying opportunities, if you're taking everything in, only thing it's going to do is get you a bunch of sludge, a bunch of follow-ups, a bunch of people who's not responding to you. Or if they are responding to you, it's like, no, we're not going to do it right now, which just give you that false hope down the road, right? And timing is going to be the fatality that's going to fail on that. So talk about the 3 numbers that matter, right? So step 2, Don't waste time. It's your most valuable asset that you guys have. So when we talk about not wasting time in here, I'm talking number one about time blocking. I know we're running short on time, so I'd be happy to talk to you guys on this beyond. But time blocking, right? Figure out the time that you specifically, dive into the actions that you have. Within a coaching side, we have something called the perfect sales week. That allows you to be able to understand the days and times where your activities are the most impactful, right? I think it's golden hours, right? Those are the hours that your client is in the office making decisions. So if you guys are out on roofs doing inspections when ultimately your client would be answering the phone, it's not a great use of time. So time blocking allows you to be able to truly dedicate, okay, you know what? I work with property managers. They typically don't show up till 9 a.m. So my prospecting is not going to begin at 7 a.m. when they're not in the office. Understanding how your clients work, how they operate, time blocking gets you really, really far on that. You could do it through Calendly. Gmail has some stuff, all kinds of different things that you can use on that. The second thing, which I feel is a really, really big self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Which means you guys think that it's true, but I don't, right? Or you shouldn't, is delegation, right? Give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. Which means there's so many times and situations where they're like, no, 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 I don't have anybody to give this to. I don't have anybody to be able to help me. Or I can't give this. It's just easier if I do it myself. If I had to teach someone to be able to do it, it'd just take way too long. That's not true, right? So delegation is about being able to have someone help you accomplish tasks that are either A, redundant, or B, not the right use of your time. You guys know what you need to focus on in order to be able to get the contract signed, right? So you can use all kinds of different things. So there's virtual assistants. This is a screenshot from months and months ago. I use Time, etc. personally. The one thing I can tell you is don't be cheap with this, guys. Yes, you can get someone over in the Philippines for like $3 an hour, but they're not going to speak English. They're not going to be able to translate what you say. And by the time they get it right, you're right. You could have done it yourself. So find a good system that works for you guys. It's like 20 something bucks an hour. And I'll be honest with you, an hour of my time and an hour of their time is not the same. They're very, very good at understanding how to use that system. And I use them for all kinds of different stuff. So don't be cheap with that. You can use Time, etc. There's all kinds of different things. That's the one that I'm going to recommend. But again, Google it, find out, figure out what works for you guys. But when you tell me I don't have anyone to delegate to, that's not true. Don't let that be the thing that stops you, because if you guys can sell an extra $10,000 simply from offloading some redundant tasks or some things that you have to do, I think it's probably the best use of your guys' time. Last one is a task manager or a CRM. If your company's not using any type of CRM, then it's on you guys, right? And even if they are using a CRM, when we talk about a task manager, there's so much stuff that happens within a day, right? That you need to be able to do. And again, this is something from a little while back on mine. These are all just different tasks that I had set up. I had to do adjustments to the no reps left behind, the slides that you're looking at now. I got to upload the new recorded content that I did. I got to build a landing page, so on and so on. Get it out of your head. And that's the one thing that getting things done will teach you. Get it out of your head, because if you have to remember it, guys, you're not going to remember it. Write it down on a piece of paper, add it to a task manager, whatever it is, figure that side out. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. So again, Task Manager, it's on Apple. You can use it just about anywhere. Todoist, Microsoft Office, there's all kinds of task managers. Find what works best for you guys. Habits, I won't go too much into this, right? But everybody, a habit takes time. There's books on habits, okay? Read them, understand it, because habits take time, but they also have consequences for when you do or do not do them. So do some time inside that, and we can spend a lot of time there. The one thing I'll tell you, none of this on the time side matters if you don't hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable to everything that you're putting inside place. And if that means you need to put a Post-it on your truck, if that means you need on the truck steering wheel, you need to put a Post-it on the side of your desk. I literally, on my thing right down here, says no one-offs, no options. That's a reminder to me to be able to protect my time. And I have it written down right in front of me, so I have to look at it each day. You are the one that's going to destroy your time, right? You're the one that's going to use that 24 hours that you have in the right or wrong places. The last thing is perfect your process. I said this already, guys. Do what works. You are different than the other sales rep, which means you can't be just bottled into one sales process or one training, and this is the way it is. You guys are unique. You have your own talk tracks. You guys say different words than I do, especially if you're in different parts of the US. It's okay. You guys have to figure out specifically what's for you guys. So you got to be able to perfect that process. Part of what we do on all of this, guys, is we give you all of those things. You guys have the buyer's action plan, right? We have all of the checkpoints that you guys need to go through to be able to have you ask the right questions. Perfect that process for you guys, because that right there, understanding, do you have to ask, right? Do we have a proven history of solving their problems? That's you guys. Figure out what your talk track is to be able to say, we have a proven path of solving problems just like this. And if you don't want to say those words, in all honesty, guys, I don't care. As long as it aligns specifically to what you're trying to accomplish with that question. That's what I mean by make it your own. You guys have to have a process that works for you, because as long as you try to duplicate somebody else, I don't care if you consider them successful or not. It's their process. They've already aligned it to them and what they do. You guys have to do it for you. Figure out what works. So it goes right back to the perfect buyer's journey. There's 3 checkpoints. We help you guys get all of those questions out because we're eliminating the maybes, right? We're trying to figure out, do they check each one of these? The confirmation close, which we went on before, 3 questions that are going to tell you black and white, right? Do you have an opportunity to be able to win this job, right? Are we the right solution to solve these problems? And if not, you're going to get those answers very quick. You're going to get them up front, and you're not just going to be sitting back hoping that the customer answers you. So 3 things that we'll jump through, guys. 3 things that you need to know. Numbers, they don't lie. Number 2, time. Don't waste it because it's the most valuable thing that you have. And then number 3 is process. Do what works for you. You need to create that process for you, which means whatever I do might not work for you and vice versa for everybody else. That's the headspace side of this, guys. Those are the 3 things that are going to help you be accountable to yourself. David, anything you want to add, sir?
Nope. We hit it.
Yeah. All right. So we did it. 3:01, guys. Central Time, Eastern. It's 4 for you guys. But go kill it, guys. I appreciate it. And if you guys need anything between now and next week, David and I are always available to you. Later.